You're listening to the European Parliamentary Research Service podcast on social provisions and enforcement for road transport workers, including posted drivers.
Despite the measures in place, truck drivers in the EU face deteriorating working conditions and distortions of competition, as current posting provisions and administrative requirements are ill-suited to the mobile nature of their work.
To address these gaps, the European Commission has proposed a revamp of the old rules to strengthen compliance and better align posted workers' conditions with those of local drivers. Want to know more? Stay with us.
The road transport sector employs 5 million people overall in the EU, but the working conditions of drivers in Poland or Hungary are very different to those enjoyed by their German or Swedish counterparts, for example, as are the labour costs for those employing them.
Because of the mobile nature of the sector, the European Commission has long believed that in order to create a fair, efficient and safe road transport sector, market rules must be accompanied by strong social rules to protect workers' rights and ensure fair competition.
Current social provisions regulating maximum driving times and the use of tachographs as well as checks and controls on drivers and operators were meant to ensure this. The problem is that despite the 2006 Enforcement Directive, they haven't been applied equally by all member states, which has led to worsening working conditions and distortions of competition.
The Commission also signalled that posting provisions and administrative requirements are not really adapted to the mobile nature of road transport, creating unnecessary red tape for operators and a range of barriers to cross-border services.
Fines for serious infringements of the rules, such as manipulation of a tachograph, also differ greatly from one member state to another, varying from less than €600 in Lithuania to up to €30,000 in France.
Concerned about the high number of infringements of social provisions in the road transport sector dating back years, the European Parliament has repeatedly called for preventive and coercive measures to improve enforcement.
In the context of the controversy over social dumping in the EU across all sectors and referring to the Posting of Workers Directive, MEPs have insisted that member states should cooperate more with each other and improve information exchange between inspection services to prevent social fraud.
A 2013 study for the European Parliament, which was updated in 2017, signalled a general deterioration in working conditions for bus and truck drivers, as well as disparities in social provisions and labour costs in different EU countries, which translated into increased social dumping.
To address the problems, MEPs have recommended strengthening enforcement mechanisms, monitoring the correct implementation of the Posting of Workers Directive, and enhancing cooperation between member states.
To address all these concerns, the European Commission proposed in 2017 to tighten enforcement requirements and lay down specific rules for drivers posted in other member states. Now, what changes will the new proposal bring? Let's have a look.
First of all, enforcement requirements and checks, both on the road and on the company's premises, will be extended to include checks on compliance with the Working Time Directive to ensure that drivers' work and rest times are being respected.
Cooperation and information exchange between member states will also get a boost, and national risk rating systems for undertakings will be further harmonised.
To ensure a level playing field for all drivers in the EU, the Commission also plans to adapt the rules governing the posting of workers to the specificities of this sector. But how?
Well, what the Commission is proposing is that the minimum social conditions applied by member state, meaning minimum pay rates and minimum paid annual holidays, will apply to a posted worker if he or she is working in the host member state for more than 3 days in a given calendar month.
So if a driver spends less than 3 days in the host member state working on international transport operations, he or she won't be covered by that country's social framework.
Precisely. But what do the other EU institutions and stakeholders think about these changes? Let's have a look.
The EU's advisory bodies, the Committee of the Regions and the Economic and Social Committee, are preparing their views on the Commission's proposal, but they've long been calling for more harmonisation of social and working conditions in the road transport sector, as well as more cooperation between member states to monitor compliance and fight abuse and social dumping.
The Parliament's Transport Committee will also have a say on the proposal, but in May 2017, MEPs had urged member states to implement and enforce EU rules more strictly, as well as to step up checks to ensure that drivers and operators respect the legal rest work times. So far, the European Parliament and the Council have received contributions from many national parliaments, and they don't all share the same views. Both the French and the Italian parliaments recommended that the host country's minimum social provisions should apply from the first day of work, and for all types of road transport.
And the Polish Senate said the proposal was incompatible with the subsidiarity principle, arguing that it violates the fundamental principles of the EU, such as the functioning of the internal market and the right to establish oneself and provide services across the EU.
Business and road transport organisations have underlined the importance of enforcing social legislation in the sector.
But will the new measures succeed in creating a better functioning internal market in road transport while improving drivers' working conditions, road safety and competition between operators?
You're listening to the European Parliamentary Research Service podcasts.